Hey, so this is the second part of my little manifestation journey, and I wanted to talk about in particular how to manifest a relationship, an ideal relationship, because I recently got mine this past year after years of working on this, and I wrote down the whole journey so then I can kind of understand and share my process. So a lot of law of attraction people and stuff like that will be like, oh, put out your desire to the world of this person, and then you release it and you go about living your life, and then they come to you. And man, that shit, oh God, it didn't work for me because I was looking at it from a different perspective. And I think a lot of us come from that. It's like, if I do enough petitions, if I do enough rituals, if I do this or that, then it'll work for me. And the biggest thing I've learned about manifestation is that it is the art of you becoming the person with that desire fulfilled. And so how you go about that, there's going to be many techniques, but these were my techniques that I hope to share with you because they were pretty fucking solid and I had to get real specific. So first thing to understand is you want to go on a journey with someone, but you don't want to make them your journey. So that was a big little opener for me when going into this, because I wanted to manifest the relationship, but it's not the person who was the journey. It is to have someone accompany me on my journey. That's what I wanted. So I'm breaking out my awesome handy dandy relationship workbook that I did in order to give you like exactly what I went through for this journey. So first thing I did was getting to know myself really in my alignment with myself, which I think is super, super important, because then you find out the values that you have connected to the desire. So my desire was to be in a happy, healthy relationship that would be permanent, a permanent, healthy, happy relationship. And I needed to know where I was aligned with that and what values are related to that. So in order to do that, I looked at, I wrote down specifics, like I got real specific. So for example, how do I value my time? What do I see, how do I see social media and how it affects my life? Am I on it a lot or am I not? What do I use it for? What are my values related to weekends and travel? Do I give myself time off? Do I find that useless? Do I find it useful? Am I going on adventures all the time? What's my values related to that? What do I consider as awesome date nights, right? Punctuality, planning. Do I have a day planner? That kind of stuff. I mean, I got specific. Then after answering that and finding out where I was according to those categories, I went into the category of habits. So, what do I consider important when it comes to organization, exercise, food, and sleep, right? Then after answering that, what do I consider important when it comes to money as far as discretionary spending, vacations, home, clothing, car, purchases, that kind of stuff. Then I had another category of what is important about my social interactions. So my friends, am I a one-on-one kind of gal? Do I like being in big groups? That kind of thing. Family. Do I talk to my family a lot? Do I not? Do I value it? Do I not? Do I consider blood family more important than friend family? What's important to me about that? And conversation, communication. Do I like open communication? I'm the type of person that can talk all night, so I'm very talkative, right? So that was the first part, was assessing my current values in the life that I was living, in the lifestyle. That basically had to do with mind, body, and soul, right? Like my healthy habits, my time. How do I spend my time? How do I value my relationships with my family? That kind of stuff. So that gave me a good view of the current alignment. Now we got even deeper. So I identified my relationship with my parents and parental gaps and gifts. So start out by writing some of the best memories you have from childhood. You can start with 1 or you can start with 3 best memories from your childhood. Then you figure out your 3 worst memories from your childhood. And when you do this, you become aware of what you focus on when it comes to something good happening and what impression that leaves you with. And you become aware of when something bad happens, what impression you're left with. And that really shows the projection that you have when something good happens to you or something bad happens to you, or even what you consider to be good or bad. So that was a really interesting little exercise I did. Then after that, I listed what a challenging time in my childhood was. So what was an overall theme of something that was challenging to you in your childhood? For me, it was being bullied. I was bullied literally all the time until I was 17 when I finally left school. I graduated early because the bullying was so fucking bad. Like from first grade all the way up to 17, I was bullied. So that was the overall theme of a challenging time in my childhood. No matter what else happened, that was the theme. So figure out the theme of that challenging time in your childhood. Then you ask yourself, did your parents help? And how did that affect you? This really shows what your viewpoint is, what some of your first viewpoints of when it comes to your parents and your relationships to people as protectors and nurturers. So I looked at that. Then expectations. You ask yourself, what expectations did your parents have of you? What did they want you to become? Did they have expectations of you? And how did that affect you? These two things, when it comes to the challenging, how they reacted to challenges with you, along with the expectations, for me, that showed a lot of like how I think I need to treat other people and how I think other people need to treat me in order to fulfill my life goals. So it again showed what I was projecting in that current moment due to the impressions that my parents left me. And this is so important because our relationship with our parents and observing that really shows us what we are like in our relationships and who we continue to attract. This is where it gets really juicy. After the expectations, I asked what their expectations for me were in relationships. So what is a relationship that they wanted you to have, that they would talk to you about? You know, what kind of partner did they want you to have? And then you ask yourself, what elements of the relationship did your parents model that you liked and disliked? This showed me exactly what kind of people I was attracting for partners. Oh my God. So all of this did, but this one was a big one. This along with that challenging aspect and then also their expectations. Because what I observed was that I did have an attraction to emotionally unavailable men for partners because of the relationship I saw my parents have. Like the qualities that I really liked about their relationship with each other was that they were very good friends and they were a unit. They were good friends and they hung out and stuff like that. And they were both there for us as kids. But what I disliked was that they slept in separate bedrooms. They were never romantic with each other, and even communication was just off. They were never connected emotionally. You could tell that type of love was not there. So I would get commitment from men who were emotionally unavailable. They would want to be my boyfriend or whatever, but then it was always on and off, or there was always this emotional gap there that I was struggling to fill with them. I wanted to change them so they could see, like, I am the one for you, that kind of thing. And I realized that I was trying to fill that emotional gap that I had seen in the qualities of my parents that I had considered, well, this is a good quality, we're really good friends, but this is the bad quality because they're not really in love. And I want them to be in love. So I would try to create that in my relationships. So that was huge, huge. So I did these kinds of assessments. The last part of that assessment, two last parts, was emotional support. So what kind of emotional support do I wish my parents had given me? That's a big one for you to answer too. What type of emotional support that you wish your parents had given you? After that, media love, because we live in a time where media rules everything and it programs us, and we actually start acting out these archetypes that we get from media. So start asking yourself, what were your favorite romance movies and stories when you were a kid? That comes into songs, all that kind of stuff. What qualities did those characters express that stuck out to you a lot? More often than not, you're probably acting out that story or elements to that story. So that's really good to see too. So that is what I did as far as current assessment of where I was in alignment. I got real specific, and if you ask yourself those questions, you'll really kind of figure out where you're standing when it comes to your projection of relationships, where you're coming from your relationships, and all this kind of stuff. Yes. So the next part was list the qualities that you're most proud of about yourself. This might be hard for some people, especially the low self-concept, but start listing out qualities that you're proud of yourself for. Are you funny? Do you think you're attractive? Do you think you're smart? Do you know your purpose? What qualities are you proud of yourself? And then qualities that you're not proud of. And on the qualities that you're not proud of, ask yourself then, what do you need in order to feel the opposite quality? So if I feel like there's always an element of instability with me that I feel, what then do I need to do in order to feel stable? Answer that question and do that through all the qualities that you don't like about yourself. That shows you what your next steps are in order to start fulfilling your unmet needs and those emotional gaps. Huge, huge for alignment. So that was the first part of my awakening into an ideal relationship. And I say awakening because that process alone will get you to start thinking about your relationships with yourself and other people in a completely new way. And it'll show you like, holy shit, I do this because of this. And now I actually have the power to change this. Cool. So you start putting yourself into alignment with that. And when I started doing that, I recognized my values that I wanted in a relationship and the values that I wanted to carry in a relationship as a person in a relationship. And it illuminated my next steps into gaining that, into being open to someone else coming in on my journey. So that was assessing the values related to desire. Now I created an image of my future self. And my future self being in a relationship. What am I like as a wife? What am I like as someone who's in a really healthy relationship? What qualities do I have? What do I find that's really wonderful, right? And I started focusing on that. And in order to help me gain an idea, because the other part of this assessment, the first part of that assessment that I did, was that I realized I didn't actually know what a healthy relationship looked like. So I started listening to podcasts from couples about their journeys, and they were long-term couples. And I picked up the things that I really liked about what they said, and I started implementing that into my idea of my future self, of what I'll be like in a relationship. So I started creating my own picture of what I look like in a relationship due to from these podcasts of these healthy couples, and that helped me a lot. Then I started checking out my self-concept, right? So after doing this assessment and realizing my future self, I started to pick out the ick. And for me, a big part of that came down, a lot of the ick came from not connecting to my feminine side enough. So I started working with my femininity. I started really connecting to that creative drive within me, the healer aspect, the ability to feel comfortable with feeling sexy and good, and, all of that kind of stuff. So I started really working on that. Now, side note, during that time, my partner, who wasn't my partner yet, we were still friends. We had been friends for a year and a half. And he and I had started walking home together because he lived on the same block as I did. So we would walk home together from the gym, which was like an hour and a half walk or something like that. And he'd be like, yeah, I'm going to Target today, which was right down the road. Like, I'll walk with you. And it became an everyday thing. Oh my God, so cute. So I found out later that he would make up excuses to go to Target or the grocery store or to go home when he actually didn't have to, but he just wanted to walk with me. So, things started to happen, but I was completely oblivious to it. I was just like, I'm working on myself, that kind of thing. So that started happening. I connected to my inner femininity. This is when we started walking together and stuff like that. I also listed out qualities that I wanted in a partner plus their value. Now, here's the thing that my mom told me that I was like throwing it out the window. I told her about the qualities and I was like, I believe that I can get someone who actually matches all of these qualities on my list. And my mom was like, I think you might just need to settle for 80% of it. I don't know if you'll get all of it. And I was like, no, your girl ain't settling. That's not happening. I'm getting all the qualities. And I threw that out the window. And I'm here to tell you today that my partner matches all of the qualities on my list, literally down to what he looks like fucking insane. And what I discovered was that the qualities that I would say maybe he doesn't have, he does have, but it comes out in a different way than what I would have expected them to. So, for example, with the spirituality, I was like, I want an occultist who's amazing and who understands who I can talk to about this kind of stuff and blah, 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 blah. Well, he came from a very different path than I did. And so when we first got together, I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't think I could talk to you about astrology or any of that kind of shit. But as we started to get to know each other more on these walks home and stuff like that, and keep in mind, again, I was not really focused on him per se. I was just this was just how it started to unravel, right? The more we were talking, the more I was like, dude, you are such an occultist and you don't even fucking know it. Like, I can talk to him about astrology. I can talk to him about servitors. I can talk to him about Goetia and all this kind of stuff. But it's just the communication, the language that we're using in order to describe it is different, but we keep getting the same results and we're doing the same practice. So so that's big. So keep in mind that even though they may not have, that your person will probably have all the qualities that you want, it's just that they have a different way of communicating it. So that's something to keep in mind. That doesn't mean that you have to settle. It's something to keep in mind, right? And then there are some, let's see. So that's what I did for the most part. And then I started writing diary entries to my beloved. So I would write like, oh, today was a beautiful day. I woke up and I heard him in the shower and I am so grateful that we're here. And my little dogs were like playing out in the backyard. And I'm just so grateful that we have our lives together and blah, blah. And I'd write diary entries like this, followed by gratitude. And that really, really helped with living from that future self. And in this journal, I will read back to some of those diary entries and legit, they have become actual days that played out. Amazing. So I did that as well. I started writing him love letters and diaries and stuff like that. So the relationship occurred after a night of dancing. I had had enough of just hiding back. One day, like that night, we were talking to each other about how we how we couldn't find a partner or some shit like that. And he was talking to me about that. And I was like, you know what, dude? I've had a crush on you for a long ass time. And he was like, really? And I was like, yeah. And then we talked more and more and more. And he was like, dude, I've had a crush on you for a long ass time. I just didn't think you were interested. And I was like, well, I didn't think you were interested. And so we had this like fucking hours of conversation where we just literally went over all of our fears, all of our stuff with each other, and because we had a solid friendship. And so we were like, dude, if we're going to do this, it's going to be intense, and we got to make sure this is done right. And so we talked about our values, our fears, our hopes, our like literally everything, man, everything. How are we going to handle each other when we have bad times, when we have good times? Are we going to speak to each other out of compassion? What are we going to do? You know, as individuals, we need to make sure we have our individual lives and respect each other's lives and blah, blah. We went over everything. And by the end of the night, we were like, yeah, we're doing this shit. And we've been together since. And it's been absolutely amazing. 100% a journey. One of the things I'll tell you is that once you get the relationship, the work doesn't stop. It gets so much more intense. This is by far the hardest relationship I've ever been in because it's the healthiest, and I have uncovered a lot of shit that I was projecting that I did not realize I was projecting until I was in a relationship. So a big change in my identity was that once I was in a relationship, I started living from my past traumas. And I started projecting that onto him, and I low-key became abusive. And so I had to really look at that and be like, dude, like, because all of my I am statements in the relationship was like, I am traumatized, I have a past, that's why I do this. And I was using that way too fucking often. And so it became clear that no, I don't want to be living from my past. I am grateful for these past experiences because now I am healing and I am in a healthy relationship. Now I am in the place where I'm at now. And so it's been a process since then of disconnecting from identifying with this past trauma and instead connecting with the future self. So the work doesn't stop. Okay, now for the witchy shit. I'm going to have a separate video on how you can use astrology, but for magic and stuff like that, use astrology. Don't let astrology use you. I currently have Saturn placed in my 5th house this year. So I was like, woo, I'm going to get a relationship. So 5th house represents romance, love, play, hobbies, creativity, fertility, spirit, joy, and self-expression. When Saturn was stationed, Saturn is considered a planet of discipline and hard work. And so a lot of people see Saturn as negative. I think Saturn is a fucking powerhouse and is awesome. So how do I use this energy? Saturn in the 5th house, I used it as allow me to utilize my petitions, mantras, affirmations, all this kind of stuff to do the hard work, discipline work on myself and for my desire of a long-lasting relationship, because Saturn is a slow-moving planet. So you can use that energy for something that is long-lasting and consistent, and work that you are willing to put the work in, something that you're willing to put the work into. And once I used that energy for those purposes and directed my intentions towards that, it all came true, and so much gratification came of it. So yeah, Saturn in the 5th house has been a fucking rocker for me. It's been awesome. But it has been hard work. I have to work on myself, right? Like consistently. But I don't mind that kind of hard work. And I don't see it as a jeopardy to my relationship. In fact, my relationship is strong because of the work that I've done on my ideas of romance and relationships. So that's how you can use astrology to fulfill your intentions. Let me see if I have anything else that I've done. I used the full moon in Pisces. I used that to clear me of all toxic habits and behaviors. that prevent me from aligning with my ideal partnership. So I use the full moon in Pisces for that. You can look this up online too. You can really look up like moon stages and stuff like that, as well as your current horary charts, and to find out like what planets are stationed in what houses, and you can utilize that energy for your intentions. So that was some of the witchy shit I did. I also used mantras. Now, here's something about mantras. So at first I used mantras. I would play it at night while I would sleep, and I would use mantras to attract love. Oh, that attracted me love, all right, but fuckboy love, okay? I attracted fuckboys. It wasn't until I started using mantras for marriage or for healing a marriage, when I was single, that I attracted my partner. So when using mantras, I used marriage mantras and healing marriage mantras instead of attract love mantras. Big difference in results. So that was pretty much what I did for manifesting someone to take my journey with in my relationship, or to manifest a relationship. I did create a desire. I did let it go, and it came to me. But this was the process, that how I did it. I got uber fucking specific, real fucking specific. And then I aligned myself with changing my identity to someone who's actually in a relationship. And that relationship that was truly destined to be came into my life. So I hope this helps you. I wish you many blessings on your journeys. And if you have something to add, please do in the comments. We're all here to help each other, and we all deserve to live a very happy, fruitful life. So many blessings on your journeys, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.